If you see someone in trouble, help them. That was my father's favorite saying. In my hometown, there's a construction company of a decent size. It's a subsidiary of a construction firm headquartered in Tokyo. The parent company is a large corporation involved in a wide range of businesses, including architecture, civil engineering, housing, and real estate. And I often see their commercials on TV. The commercials have a very clean image, emphasizing how young people are thriving there. The local economy was sustained by orders from that company. My dad ran a small company called Green Valley Landscaping as a subcontractor to them. When you hear landscaping, many people probably think of craftsmen like gardeners. In reality, it was closer to a cleaning business, weeding along national highways and median strips, basically pulling weeds. Summers were especially brutal, working under the scorching sun, blue-collar work that continued even if it rained. He was always tanned and smelled of sweat. I saw my dad working on my way home from school once. The sight of my father crouching on the ground raking up grass. On his days off, he was always lazing around at home, a frankly uncool father. But despite that, he seemed to be well liked by his subordinates. My father often took on troublesome jobs and overtime, and he apparently treated his colleagues frequently. Some people even said they owed him money. Sometimes he would come home drunk, carried by his subordinates. A young man named Chris, about 25 or 26, often seemed to draw the short straw. "Boss, hey, we're here. Wake up. Time for a bath, Ethan. Let's go." "Dad, not again." "Ethan, it's dangerous for a drunk person to take a bath. Just put Dad to bed for now." "Chris, I'm so sorry, always." "No." The boss listened to my complaints. "If anything, I feel bad for keeping you up this late." Whether it was Chris or the other old guys, many of them were bold, or rather, refreshingly frank, and interacting with them was interesting. Come to think of it, they were working hard in harsh conditions, so they probably wanted to sleep in on their days off. If there were new guys, they'd need to listen to their problems, and sometimes they might go out for drinks. Because it's tough work, there are always people with injuries, and people struggling with money, too. My dad probably couldn't leave people like that alone. If you see someone in trouble, help them. My dad's words, the difficulty of his way of life, and his hard work now that I'm working myself, I understand how truly tough it is. But well, when I was in elementary school, I selfishly thought I wanted a more luxurious life. On top of being a small business, he spent money like there was no tomorrow, so we were poor. My mom probably left because she hated it. She was gone by the time I was old enough to remember. It was kind of a taboo topic, so I never asked for details. But I often wondered why she didn't take me with her. Thinking about it after I got older, for my mom to leave her young child, there must have been some extraordinary circumstances. Like an affair, for example. I don't really know the truth, but he was a manly old guy who didn't complain about such things. Nevertheless, being poor and without a mother was more painful than I imagined. What was painful was being teased by those around me. Among my classmates was the daughter of the founding family of our main contractor, Olivia Smith. It's a common story in a closed-off rural town, but our school had a hierarchy with Olivia Smith at the top. It's unbelievable now, but for people of the generation before me, if they got on the wrong side of the Smith family, they apparently couldn't live in this area. Like being ostracized by the village. In recent years, more people have started working in the city, so I don't think they have as much influence anymore though. For example, there was an incident where wastewater leaked from a site where Smith's company was disposing of industrial waste, and it became an issue. But there's a rumor that Mr. Smith at the time silenced a prefectural assembly member with a large donation. Regardless of the truth, they are a family with that much power. In fact, even the teachers were mindful of Olivia Smith's mood. And I was one of her targets. "Your mom left, didn't she?" was just the beginning. Things like, "Isn't your lunchbox brown? Doesn't your mom make it for you? Oh right, she's not here." If I stood out even a little, I'd get poked and told, "You're just a poor subcontractor." It's not like anyone's getting work from you. If it had been just one girl, I might have been able to take her on. Well, it might be a terrible thought, but I wanted to punch her. However, Olivia Smith had her entourage. They were all children of parents who worked at Smith's company or children of subcontractors. There were other classmates who weren't, but they didn't actively get involved. Indifference, like she was something to be avoided. They were protecting themselves so they wouldn't get involved. In fact, when other kids were being bullied, I had the same attitude. Besides, I kind of had my own thoughts about my mom not being around. And it's true that the lunches my dad made were mostly fried food and grilled meat, very much a man's meal. Actually, at that age, I was grateful for something so filling, so I ignored it. When I ignored her, she started attacking me physically. She'd poke me with a pencil from behind during class, or block my way when I tried to go to the bathroom. Each incident might have been minor, but when they piled up, it really got to me. There were times I cried out, "Ugh," in class. The teacher looked at me, but after noticing Olivia Smith and her friends snickering, he immediately continued the lesson as if nothing had happened. She probably hated being ignored. So I'm sure she hated me for acting unfazed no matter what she did. At the time, I didn't fight back because of my dad. It would be a big problem if he lost his job. So I endured it. However, the only thing I told my dad about was the lunchbox. I asked him to make it more colorful. If that would stop the harassment, it was a small price to pay. After a while, my grandmother, who had been living alone, came to live with us. My grandmother's lunches had a lot of simmered dishes and things, so in the end, they were still brown. That summer of my 5th grade, I had no one to play with and nowhere to go, but I didn't want to see my classmates. So I decided to go a little further out. I said it was for a free research project, and I thought I'd play at the river's source. I put my lunch, a water bottle, and a periscope and a picture book I made the day before into my bag. My dad's work site happened to be nearby, so he gave me a ride part of the way. The forecast is for clear skies today, but if it rains, get away from the river immediately. I'll be fine. If the water rises, you'll get swept away. No, I won't get swept away. Hey, Ethan, the boss is worried too. Yeah, right. People have died before. Be careful. Not just my dad, but the other guys too were so stern about it, so I just nodded for the time being. The source of the river was a park, and I had been there before on a field trip. So I didn't think it would be that dangerous. After parting with my father, I walked along the paved road and took the periscope out of my bag. I had made it myself last night from a milk carton. It was just a cut-out piece, but I planned to use this homemade periscope to observe the creatures at the bottom of the river and write a report. Suddenly, something white caught the corner of my eye. Looking closely, I saw someone crouching a little way from the park entrance. The park at the headwaters is far from the city, so apart from school field trips, even tourists rarely visit. I heard that university students once conducted a water quality survey there, or that it was featured on TV. It's a person, right? I approached cautiously, trying not to make a sound, and observed. A white t-shirt and a denim-like skirt. Her hair color was a bit light, but I thought she was probably a child. People have died there before. No way. The sound of cicadas echoed in the distance. Even if something happened, if I ran back, there was the national highway, and my dad and his crew should be there. I instinctively took a step back. My shoes scraped against the ground. The girl listlessly raised her head. White skin and sharply defined features. Is she a foreigner? No, maybe she's mixed. Hello. Why English? Oh, just because. What are you doing? I feel sick. For a moment, I thought I was being insulted, but apparently she was feeling unwell. Should I call your parents? They're not here. I came alone. Alone in a place like this. I was confused about a lot of things, but first I contacted my dad, and he arrived in about 20 minutes. Apparently, he had been working closer than I thought. It's mild heat stroke. My dad took the girl into the shade of a tree and gave her a plastic bag filled with ice. Thank you. It's okay. Where are your parents? She said they're not here. She came alone. I told you on the phone. I interjected. I wasn't asking you, Ethan. Go get Chris and the others. Feeling annoyed, I went to get Chris and the others, and when I returned, my dad was talking to the girl about something. Chris, sorry, but could you take them home? Sure. Can I just clock out then? Don't be stupid. Come back after you drop them off. He was laughing and joking with the other guys. Wait a minute, Dad. I haven't finished my independent research yet. You can do that tomorrow, Dad. I'll bring you again. The girl and I were taken home by Chris. The girl introduced herself as Emily. Quarter. Her father was half, so she was 1/4 French. You thought I was a foreigner, didn't you? Saying hello like that. Emily, who seemed to have recovered from her heat stroke, and I talked on the veranda. Are you making fun of me? Not really. Saying that, Emily took a sip of a sweet milky drink called Calpis my grandma had brought. The sweet milky drink called Calpis my grandma made was clearly diluted. It was just white water with a little tartness and sweetness. Emily said, "Thank you for the drink," and after taking a sip, she frowned for a moment, but then drank it all in one go. Why? Wow, you really chugged that. Wait here, I'll get you some more. No, please don't bother. Don't be shy. No, then I'll have some tea, please. All right. Grandma headed to the kitchen. Wasn't the Calpis weak? It was weak, but it was given out of kindness, you know. Emily was apparently a second-year high school student attending a private school in Tokyo. She was 6 years older than me. I thought that people from Tokyo were indeed more mature. That night, when my dad came home, he announced, "She'll be staying with us for a while." I said, "Huh," but there was no particular response, and from that day on, Emily stayed at our house for a week. The next day, Emily helped me with my math drills. As expected of a high school student, there didn't seem to be any problems Emily couldn't solve. But she didn't explain things from the beginning either. Try to figure it out yourself first, she'd say, while reading my manga next to me. Don't they have homework or anything at Tokyo schools? Not really. Even with such a casual reply, if my pen stopped for even a moment, or if I got an answer wrong, she would point it out without looking up from her manga, saying, "You need to simplify that." Pretending to be working, I glanced at her sideways. Even though she had been in the sun yesterday, there were no tan lines. Was her unnatural paleness due to her ancestry? What? What is it? I know you've been looking at me. How did you know? What kind of psychic was she? Once I finished everything, she carefully graded it and explained things. Emily had a unique way of thinking. It's not really about simplifying, is it? You don't even need fractions. Just do long division. Then try solving this. And Emily wrote 1 divided by 3 on a piece of paper. Doing long division, it became 0.33. If this were a fraction, you'd just write 1/3. Isn't that easy? Then Emily scribbled some calculations on the paper. Basically, if you do the opposite of division, it doesn't go back to the original. What the? Well, why do you think that is? Emily cackled. The two of us also helped with my dad's work. We gathered the weeded grass with rakes and threw it into the collection truck. I wonder if this is what they call the smell of cut grass. A grassy smell wafted thickly. It's surprisingly heavy when it's rotten. We stuffed grass into bags big enough to fit an adult and dragged them away. It's delicious. It's summer, so it's unbearable. Emily, don't you get tired of this kind of work? Isn't it what they call a valuable experience? During lunch break, we talked while eating the ice pops Chris had bought for us. Looking at it this way, the plants along the road are actually managed properly, aren't they? Yeah, maybe. I looked at the median strip. Indeed, the areas that hadn't been worked on yet were overgrown. It didn't look good. Some people say that greenery is disappearing from the earth, but I realized that it's not over once you cut it and plant it. Just then, A light truck approached. An elderly man in work clothes was driving. The company name was embroidered on the chest of his work clothes. It was Smith's Company. The old man started talking to my dad about something. I could see my dad bowing his head several times. Are you two okay? Chris spoke as if to block the view. Make sure you drink enough water and be careful. I'm fine. I won't get heat stroke anymore. Emily replied with a smile. Hey, Chris, who's that old man? Oh, well, he's like the main contractor. He came to check on the progress of the work. Is Dad angry? I thought my dad was apologizing because he was bowing his head. The construction period is delayed. Just between us. Chris lowered his voice. They bid with an unreasonable time frame. If the period is short, they save on labor costs, you see. Honestly, I didn't understand at all. But my dad looked terribly uncool and pitiful. Emily probably understood what was going on. She looked at me as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she couldn't seem to find the words. By the way, Emily fell asleep before dinner that day. I think she was quite tired. The next day, Emily and I did the independent research we were supposed to do the day before yesterday. As expected, Emily wasn't very knowledgeable about aquatic life, but she subtly supported me with things like how to collect data for the report. What's wrong? There's a strange fish, and I pointed at the water surface. Is this a char? It was swimming, wriggling as if scraping the riverbed. Maybe it got scared and ran away when it was about to be caught. Oh man, that's awful. Saying that, Emily moved back a little from the river. She squatted down, vaguely watching the fish. Hey, isn't this boring? Me? Why? Because there's nothing around here. Nothing? Emily pointed towards the trees and grinned. There are mountains. She scooped water from the river and splashed it on me. There's a river. Hey, stop it. That's not what I meant. If you go home, there's Kalpas. It's weak, though. There's nothing, but there's also everything. In that way, Emily seemed to be enjoying herself. At night, she would make a phone call somewhere. After that, she would talk to my father about something. About 3 days later in the evening, when I came home, there was an unfamiliar car parked at our house. A Japanese woman and a man who looked like a foreigner were in the car. They were the girl's parents. As Emily had said, her father had even more striking features than her. Frankly, if he spoke English like that, I would have thought he was a complete foreigner. Her parents had apparently come to pick Emily up. The three of them stayed at our house and left the next day. Emily's father and my dad exchanged business cards and talked a little. Wait, Dad, you had business cards? Compared to my dad, who was talking loudly after having some alcohol, Emily's father was somehow refined. Emily's mother occasionally nodded along to their conversation while talking with my grandma. I realized Emily was gone. Emily was sitting on the porch, gazing vaguely at the sky, just like when she first came to our house. I didn't mean to startle her, but I somehow approached quietly. What are you doing? Emily jumped, her shoulders jolting up and down. Shouldn't that be hello? You're still making fun of me. Emily patted the spot next to her. When I sat there, Emily pointed to the sky and said, Look, stars. It was a bit cloudy, but the usual night sky spread out before us. Well, yeah, it's nighttime. Does that mean there's no sky in Tokyo? Emily laughed. Can't you see the stars in Tokyo? Hey, that's right. I guess you can't see them this clearly. That's not what I meant, though. Emily muttered to herself. You know, I'm going to America. My dad's going back to the main office, so we're moving. I see. But I hated moving just because of my parents' convenience. So I ran away from home and got heat stroke. Is that why she came to a place like this all alone? So the occasional phone calls were to prevent a missing person report from causing trouble for us. Her parents also found out where she was and came here. I was both convinced and exasperated. Thank you. For what? For finding me back then. Your father also knew my situation and let me stay. I didn't do much, and you should tell your dad about your dad's stuff. You're right. Your father is an amazing person. Huh? Emily, you saw him too, right? Bowing and scraping like that. It's not cool. Emily's dad is way cooler. That's true. But that's how he works hard to support his family. Even if I work hard, I can't become great, and I'll be made fun of because I'm poor. But if I talk back, Dad will lose his job. I told Emily about being teased at school. I usually thought it was nothing, but somehow tears came to my eyes as I spoke. That's tough. I'm sure you're being told unpleasant things that I can't even imagine. And Emily patted my back. If you're going to fight, you have to study hard and become great first. If it's still tough, I think it's okay to run away. She said something like that. You know, because of how I look, I was teased for being a foreigner when I was in elementary school. That's why I wanted to know my roots. When we decided to move and I was packing, I happened to find out that my mom had come here when she was in college. You mean she went to college around here? No, it was for some seminar research, apparently, but I didn't understand the difficult parts. But, you know, after hearing about it and looking it up online, it felt like a nostalgic hometown landscape. There's only nature here. It's enough. My hometown was here. For me, who had been in this environment since I was born, I didn't quite understand the hometown Emily was talking about. I'll never forget the time I spent here. I'll remember it too. You like me, don't you? What? I'll remember that too. With that, Emily went back into the living room. The next day. Good luck, Ethan. You too, Emily. See you. Emily left with her parents. And so, summer vacation ended. My treatment at school was the same as before. You're poor, so you couldn't go on trips or anything, right? If anything had changed, it was my attitude. I was studying at home the whole time. What's that? You introvert. Since Emily left, I started studying diligently. It was very country bumpkin of me, but I wanted to go to Tokyo in the future. Emily was right. I think I was probably attracted to Emily. It sounds perverted to want to be near a girl you like, but back then, that alone was enough to make me focus on my studies. Thinking back now, it was a ridiculously simple motivation. Besides, Emily was already in a foreign country, but I felt like I could get closer to her if I went to Tokyo. Then, there were gradual changes around me too. Because I ignored the harassment and my grades improved, the harassment from those around me also subsided. Some of my classmates were taking entrance exams for private junior high schools, so maybe they created a certain atmosphere. Olivia didn't like that, and I was harassed from time to time, but I didn't care at all. I think her mental structure is immature. Most of them went on to the local junior high school, but it seems that connections couldn't do anything about the junior high school exam results. And Olivia and her group declined, and their numbers dwindled. Oh yeah, I was surprised when I encountered the 0.99 problem Emily mentioned in math. I think it was in simultaneous equations in the second year of junior high. After that, my enthusiasm for studying didn't wane, and I went on to high school. By this point, studying itself was so much fun I couldn't help it. It's not that I forgot about Emily, but it was like the means had become the end. I didn't particularly think about wanting to go to Tokyo anymore. After that, I went to a local national university and then started working at the Japanese branch of a foreign consulting firm. Now I work in a department that does management consulting for various companies. That said, I'm still a newbie, so I'm currently learning the ropes by following my seniors. When I was job hunting, I was always concerned about my dad's company, but he said, "It's your life. Do what you want to do. I'll either close the company or give it to Chris." Chris joked, "That sounds great. By the way, Ethan." My dad looked up from the brochure of the company I had joined and spoke to me formally. His eyesight seemed to have declined considerably recently, and he was looking at me from behind his reading glasses. Was it about 10-something years ago? Do you remember when that foreigner came? You mean Emily? What, that old man? He wasn't a foreigner. He was half Japanese, right? You remember? Then it's fine. It's not just that I remember. that person is. I grinned. This time, I came back to my hometown for work. As luck would have it, a class reunion was being held at a local hotel, so I decided to attend. It seemed that nearly half of my former classmates were working for affiliates of the local construction company. At the reunion, I chatted with former classmates, mostly just catching up. Ethan, does that mean you're working abroad? No, it's the Japan branch. I sometimes go on business trips to the US headquarters, though. Wow, that's amazing. Hey, do you remember Kevin? The one who took the junior high entrance exam? Yeah, I heard he passed the bar exam. Yeah, you guys have really made it, huh? My company's just going downhill. Come to think of it, both Duju and Kevin were incredibly smart. Everyone seemed to have forgotten about the past harassment. Things are tough at Smith's place. On top of their declining performance, there are rumors of corruption. Apparently, an inspection from headquarters is coming soon. Smith's company was struggling financially due to population decline caused by the aging population and low birth rate. Consignments from the head office were decreasing, while revenue for the first half of the year remained flat compared to the previous year. In the countryside, even this kind of gossip would probably be a hot topic for a while. How carefree. As I was thinking about such things and nodding along to the conversation, I felt something cold trickle down my neck. Turning around, I saw a woman tilting a beer mug, glaring at me. If she were wearing a tracksuit, she'd look like one of those delinquent couples hanging out at a local discount store. Well, look who it is, the poor guy who ran away from his hometown. You're filthy, so I'll disinfect you. Hey Olivia, what the hell are you doing? This is seriously not okay. It's because this Tokyo IT came crawling back. Serves him right. The guys who were defending me and Olivia's old cronies were arguing. I took a towel from the waiter and made a phone call. Hey Olivia, don't you have anything to say? I put my phone away and faced Olivia. This one, and her entourage, nothing has changed since the old days. They haven't matured mentally. This guy is really pissing me off. Should I crush your old man's place? And Olivia let out an exaggerated laugh. You're aging weirdly. Is that so? A woman approached us. Hey, Ethan, are you okay? Well, this much is fine. More importantly, you were fast, Ms. Miller. This hotel seems to be affiliated too, said Ms. Emily Miller. Ms. Smith, you just lost $30 million. Ms. Emily Miller. Yes, it was Emily. By the way, I believed it wasn't nepotism. However, when I saw Emily's father as an interviewer during the executive interview, I almost cried out in surprise. Emily's father also worked at the same company. Attending the class reunion was, of course, part of the job. The team my senior and I belonged to had been requested to provide management consulting services by a construction company in Tokyo. Apparently, they were considering restructuring due to the poor performance of a regional subsidiary. When I inquired further, it turned out to be my hometown. The company with deteriorating performance was Smith's company. Because it was my hometown, I asked for some time to think about it. That's why I was investigating related companies this time. Since it was a company rooted in the local community, I was gathering information while attending the class reunion. In conclusion, Smith's company was separated from its affiliated companies, and its subcontractors were merged to create a new limited partnership. My father's company also participates in bidding for public works projects as the landscaping department. Such tyranny should not be permitted, and Mr. Smith was on the verge of filing a lawsuit. I have connections with politicians here, but if that's the case, I'll make this public. Saying that, Ms. Miller showed some documents along with a picture of a fish. It was a picture of a fish with a bent spine, similar to the fish I saw when I did my independent research a long time ago. Wastewater from the factory has seeped into the soil and is flowing into the river. Wasn't that fish injured? A long time ago, a university research team investigated the water quality in this area. It was when the previous president was still in charge. I know. I was already working there at the time. But that was like a fabrication. According to the government investigation, there were pollutants, but they were within the standard limits, right? Yes, your company bribed politicians to cover it up. And even if it was within the standard limits, pollution was occurring. What are you talking about? Where's the proof? Ms. Miller took out a campus notebook. Research funding was cut, the professor was demoted, and the research team was disbanded. This notebook contains the research content at the time and its outcome. It's my mother's journal. That! Ms. Miller swatted away the hand of the president, reaching for the notebook. After carrying out a one-time restructuring, most of the employees will be re-employed by the limited partnership. Your company will go bankrupt. But if you wish, we will support you in finding new employment. However, if you continue to pollute my hometown, I will not show mercy. In the end, Smith's company went bankrupt. It turned out they had been fraudulently reporting profits from the previous fiscal year and were heavily in debt. So, your mother came here to investigate the river's water quality, Ms. Miller? It seems so. But the rumors about Smith's company's fraudulent accounting were just rumors. How did you uncover it? I remembered helping your father with his work. I scrutinized the flow of cheaply fudged labor costs. It was surprisingly simple once it was over. However, it was unexpected that helping Emily would lead to such an outcome. Did that make you feel a little better? About what? About you being bullied. It turned out to be quite the revenge, didn't it? Not really. More importantly, there were people in that company who worked seriously, so this is where the real challenge begins, right? Good. Yes, we're not crushers, so we have to work hard to make sure no one is left in trouble.